talk to you about your direct and indirect object pronouns. Your book is only wanting you to use the third persons for the moment. So if it is an indirect object, you're going to use lay and lace, and if it's a direct object, you're going to use low and las. And so how do you figure out what is what? I'm going to give you an example in English. I use this one a lot. I wrote a letter to my brother. Okay, in this sentence, there are three nouns. Okay, so let's just kind of point them out. There's I, there is letter, and there is brother. One of these nouns is the subject. One of these nouns is the direct object, and the other is the indirect. Now, later on, you'll be able to put them all together. In the exercises that your book presents to you, they're only going to ask you to use either or, and they want you to distinguish between when it's a direct that you're being asked for and when it's an indirect. Okay? So, how do I do this? Okay, well, I say you start by identifying your verb, which is wrote. Okay, and we will just put verb. Okay, I'm going to do my subject in blue, my direct object in green, and my indirect in purple. Okay, so the verb is the action. Okay, so we already know what that is. The action. The subject is, in this case, I'm going to use wrote so that we can already, because it makes more sense with an example. Okay, so the verb is wrote. So the subject is going to answer the question, who? Who is doing the writing, or who wrote the letter? Okay, that is I. Okay. What is being written? That's the letter. Okay? And then your indirect object is to whom is the letter being written. And that is going to be brother. Okay? So the subject, the verb is the action. The subject who's doing the action of the verb, the direct object is being directly acted upon by that action. It's what is actually being written. And then the indirect is not being written. It's not it's not what's being written. It's not who's doing the writing, but it is someone who's indirectly benefiting or being impacted by that action. Okay? So then, in this case, my subject is I. The letter is my direct object, and my brother is the indirect object. So if I wanted to say, let's say I wanted to rewrite this. Actually, let me move it. Okay. So let's say I wanted to rewrite this and say I wrote him a letter. So your indirects are going to be, here, let's do your direct. Your directs are going to be remember, we're just doing third person, are going to be lo, la, and then you can have the plurals of each of those. Los, las. Okay. And then your indirects going to be lay, and then the plural lays. Okay? So if I want to say I wrote him a letter, so actually let me write this whole thing out in Spanish. This would be, oh no, let's not do that. Let's do I wrote him a letter. Okay? Okay, so what I'm missing here is the him. My brother happens to be in, I don't know, that looks like I did it in blue. That should have been purple. Actually, let me go over it in purple. Well, I can't. I'll do it in a minute. I'll go over it in purple. Yo escribí una carta. So I'm not missing my subject. That's yo. I'm not missing my direct object, that which is being written. That's the letter. What I am missing is my indirect object. So I'm replacing brother with him, the indirect object. And since it's singular, I'm going to want lay. Okay? And where these guys go, we would say, I wrote him a letter. We would stick it here. In Spanish, both of these guys go in front of conjugated verbs. So even though it means him, I'm going to stick it here. Yo le escribí una carta. Okay? But if I wanted to say, I wrote it to my brother. Actually, before I do that, let me make this purple. That should have been purple. Okay, so I wrote it to my brother. I wrote escribí, oh, that wasn't spelled right. Escribí a mi hermano. What I'm missing this time is my letter, and the letter is my direct object, because here I've got the subject, the person who's doing the writing, and then I've got the person to whom, who's being written to, but I don't have what's being written. So this time I'm replacing letter. Letter is carta, so I need the feminine direct object, and again, it still goes here. La escribí a mi hermano. Okay? And so we'll use practice. I just misspelled escribir. Okay, so let's do a little bit of practice. Okay, so Marco is going on a trip, and so remember that we have our direct object pronouns, which are lo, los, la, las, and we have our indirects, which are lay, lace. Okay, so we're deciding whether we need an indirect or a direct in each of these situations. And so remember, my direct object is usually the what or the who, what is being eaten, what is being written, or who is being called, who is being sent. And these are the to whom, for whom, usually to whom, for whom, and pretty much always the indirects are going to be people. The directs can be people, but usually are the object in the sentence. Because you could say, I'm calling my mom on the phone, then I am the subject, and who or what's being called is my mom, she's the direct object. But more times than not, the direct objects are going to be inanimate objects, and the indirects are going to be people. So I'm going to put down here people. It's not saying that people can't be the other, but this is pretty much always people. Okay? So here, Marco is going on a trip to Buenos Aires. His mother is asking him if he has all the things he needs. Complete their exchanges by selecting the correct object pronouns. ¿Tienes la computadora portátil? Sí, tengo la maleta pequeña. She wants to know if he has his computer, and he's saying, yes, I have the computer. The computer is, who's doing the having? In this case, it's you or it's I, and the answer. What is being had? The computer. The what are these guys? So we're replacing computer, and since it's feminine, we would need la. So that's what would go here. Okay. Llevas los pantalones cortos. Okay, so here we have our subject is you. Our verb is llevar. What is being worn are shorts. There is no indirect. Okay, so los pantalones cortos would be replaced with los. We're looking at direct objects. ¿Quieres unas botellas de agua para el viaje? This is, do you want bottles of water? The subject is you. Want is the verb. What is being wanted are the bottles. We're replacing the bottles because no, I don't want them, meaning the bottles. So we're still looking at directs, which is las. Las to match botellas, because we're saying, do you want bottles of water? No, I don't want them, bottles of water. Madre, ¿vas a dar a tu hermano tu dirección en Buenos Aires? Sí, doy la dirección esta noche. This one has three. It has a subject, I, for the verb, I give. What am I giving? Address. To whom am I giving it? Brother. So what's missing in the answer is not the direct object, what's being given, not your subject, but to whom it's being given, which is your brother. That would be indirect. That's when you would use lay. Okay. ¿Vas a comprar un regalo a tu hermana mañana? Sí, mamá, compro un regalo esta semana. So here we've got a verb, going to buy. Who's going to do it? You are. What are you going to buy? A present. That's your direct object. It's still listed in the answer. But for whom is it being bought? The sister. The sister is nowhere in the answer. So we need to plug in for her. We have our direct object. That's what's being bought. The present. We're just missing for whom it's being bought. And that would be your indirect, which would be lay, because they don't make a distinction between masculine and feminine for indirect objects. So see how the people are turning out to be the lays. It's not always going to work out that way, but most times it will. ¿Llevas suficiente dinero? Are you taking enough money? Yes. Yes, I'm taking it, Mom. So the subject is you. Taking is the verb. What are you taking? Money. That's your direct object. There's no indirect. You're not taking the money to your brother. You're just taking the money. So it would be a direct object. It's got to agree with dinero, and so it would be lo. Okay? And you can do the same thing here. ¿Qué prefieres regalar a Juan para su cumpleaños? Whenever you see these, you're going to probably use the indirect object pronouns. It's saying, what do you prefer to give to him, to Juan? And so you would put le in here. ¿Qué prefieres regalarle? And that le should be attached to the regalar. These direct and indirect object pronouns either go in front of conjugated verbs, like they were going up here, los tengo, la tengo, las quiero, or they can go attached. So actually how it should be written is like this. This le should go right up here, right on top of that regalar. So it can either go right together with it or in front. It could have gone in front of the prefieres. Un libro o una corbata. Mejor un libro porque tiene muchas corbatas y no usa nunca. What does he not use? He doesn't use ties. That's a direct object. There is no indirect. It's not like he's giving ties to his father. So we want it to agree with corbatas, that's feminine, and so we would put las here. No las usa nunca. Sí, o un suéter, no, mejor no. Creo que su mamá blank compra suéteres. So I believe that his mother buys, she's the subject, buying is the verb, and what's being bought are sweaters. For whom are they being bought? They're being bought for Juan. So this is when you would need your indirect object, because this is what's being bought. This is who's doing the buying, but you don't have for whom it's being bought. So you would put a le here. Okay, no, and then it says, siempre por su cumpleaños, Navidad, etc. De acuerdo, no olvides que tienes que comprar a tu hija unos videos en español. Again, you've got a tu hija, so we would put the ley in there again. Okay, and it should actually go right here, buffered right up next to that comprar. No olvides que tienes que comprarle a tu hija unos videos en español. Los videos de Disney están todos en español. Y Blank tiene an Amazon, and they are like, they have them in Amazon. This is not about people, it's about the things. So los videos, it's going to be these. And so we would put those right here to match with our videos. En la escuela ven videos en español, pero si tienen la película de Peter Pan, yo quiero comprar porque a los niños les gusta mucho. If you have the movie Peter Pan, I want to buy it. What you want to, you're not buying it for somebody, you're talking about for whom later, you're just saying you want to buy it, and it would go with película, which is feminine, so you're using these guys, and so you want to match película, which would be la. Okay. Porque los niños, and you know with gustar that you use your indirect object pronoun, you're going to make it agree with this, with a los niños, so that would be, and that's going to be the indirect, that's going to be le.
Do you like it? Let me see.
Tienen unas blusas preciosas en Potato Republic. ¿Quieres ver? Do you want to see them? It's not like you want to show them to your sister. It's saying, do you want to see them, meaning the blouses, and blouses would be a direct object, so you would plug in las. And again, when you do it at the end of a verb, it's supposed to really go attached, so it should look a little bit more like this. They can go in front of conjugated verbs or attached to unconjugated ones, infinitives. Si puedo regalar blank una a mi hermana por su cumpleaños. Here we've got that a mi hermana, so we say, yes, I can give one, that's your direct object, to my sister. So we are going to need the indirect object pronoun here. And so remember, too, that in Spanish, whenever you have an indirect object, they often still use the indirect object pronoun. Unlike in English, if we said, you know, I can give one to my sister, we don't need to say her, but it's kind of like they see, yes, I can give her one to my sister for her birthday. Pues vamos, además, tienen de rebajas, and they're talking about the blouses again. So let's go furthermore. They're on sale. So you would put las because it's the it. So when it's most of the time, it's not going to be 100% of the time, but most of the time when they're talking about people, that's when you're going to use these guys. And you want to look for these little phrases. These tell you which lays to use. So look for these little phrases, these little prepositional phrases, and then you'll know which lay and lays to be using. Okay?